Hey everybody, Christy Wimber here. I'm talking today in the encouragement of, now stay with me here, in the topic of men don't get called names. So we're talking about under women who lead, and what I have learned throughout the years is, yeah, I'm sure men get called names, but not to the degree that women get called. And the truth is, when it comes to women who lead, we're either called bossy, bitchy, or a great leader. And rarely is it the latter one, because when something is uncomfortable for people, they want to, fix it. They want to, kind of label it. I mean, we're really good at labels. And I've been in, leadership for 3 decades now, and I've been called pretty much everything. And if I haven't, I'm pretty sure I will be by the end of the segment. But what I've learned is that it's not what people call you that matters, it's what you answer to that matters. But it is really difficult when it's like this elephant in the room of how women are called names all the time. And I'm going to call this out because I think it's really important that we face it head on, that one of the problems in especially church culture is that women are called bossy or bitchy because they're a great leader. And I often, through the last 3 decades, have been, where people try to pull me into debates about whether or not women should lead. And I have not spent any time doing that. Like, I've had great theologians around me. I'm not a theologian. I know who I am. And I'm not a theologian, but I have great friends who are great theologians and can answer and debate stuff for me and are very gifted at it. I was like, I just want to build what God's called me to build and focus my time and energy on that, not defending myself. And I've learned God will raise people up to defend. And at the end of the day, not everybody's going to believe what you believe anyways, and that's okay. And I've never, ever felt, had a problem where people had a different theology than me. I mean, some of my best friends, we all have different theology, and that's okay. And, until we can actually love each other and, not choose, disagreement as a breaker in relationship. I mean, it's so nonsensical, but so I have not felt the need to I'm going to run around and try to defend myself and women should have a place and women. I'm like, no, I'm going to put all my energy into building. But behind the scenes, I'm human. And in being human, it's hurtful when people judge you for you're just trying to obey the Lord. I mean, I literally just had something happen not that long ago. When leading a church for 11 years, I had somebody come to me from a decision that I made as a woman, obviously leading the church, still a woman. I had to make a decision regarding something in leadership where one of the leaders was out sleeping around. And I came it down hard because it wasn't the first time. And said, that's it. There's, major consequences here. And I had somebody come and judge me on a decision that I had made years ago. And I thought, you know what? I wonder how many men get phone calls about decisions they made about something they were leading in the church a decade ago, because somebody, thought you were being too, bossy. And I'm like, no, I was not being bossy. I was being a shepherd. And I was doing what God asked me to do. And I realized that, oh my gosh, I can't tell you countless times where, where I've been called bossy or whatever. And I'm sure many of you women are laughing right now because seriously, this is a thing. And I'm like, oh, you know what? I get that, being called, bitchy is not a nice thing, but we're the ones that are being called that. And that is a reality. So we need to put this on the table. So I know that there's many of you men that are listening to this and you're like, I love women who lead. I don't have a problem with it. Great. But one, my role in doing this is not to get everybody to believe, and to be egalitarian. I'm not in trying to get everybody into the same theology. But if you don't struggle with it, that's great, because you can listen with an ear that your colleagues do deal with it if they're women. They are dealing with people that are looking at them through a lens where, it's just how they've been taught. And so we got to get better at this, and we got to be, we got to acknowledge it. So I just want to give you a few things here that I hope are really helpful, because it is identifying the problem, isn't it? G.K. Chesterton said this. He said this: it isn't that they can't see the solution. It's that they can't see the problem. And I think when it comes to women who lead, seeing the problem that actually we do get undermined, we do get called names, and we got to call this stuff out, because we got to stop this behavior. Because, especially, when I say I'm human, like, I can't tell you how many times where I have cried behind the scenes. Because, when you're strong, and just because you're not crying in front of everybody doesn't mean that it's not hurtful. And I know lots of men who's cried behind the scenes as well. So this is not a gender issue, but I'm telling you, a lot of women, I'll tell you, one of the sad things that I've seen with women who lead is that they feel like they have to be men and come across manly in order to have a voice in the church. Come on. I mean, I have seen this for years, and I've looked at that, and my first reaction, like, what are you doing? Like, you're a woman, stop acting like a man. But I've realized, oh my gosh, we have created culture where women feel like they have to act like men to have a voice. That should not be. That should not be where we are causing people to act different than what God's created them to be, because otherwise they just wouldn't have a place. And so I'm just bringing some light to this. Like, all of us in leadership, you're going to get called something. But at the end of the day, it's what you answer to that matters, and knowing that you're not like living your life based on what other people say. But just a few quick encouragements. One, know who you are. What does God say over your life? Living in that place that you do not have to be defined by what people say or what people call you. You're defined by Jesus. Every leader has to be firm to that, because if you don't define who you are, other people will do it for you. The second thing is that be who God's called you to be. Don't change who you are. Just like what I was saying, don't change who you are to fit into a mold, because otherwise you feel like, oh, I can't be myself. No. Like that's not the way. God will open up another door if that's not working for you. But your anointing is on being authentically you, your personality, your voice, I remember, oh my gosh, when I was doing worship stuff in the 90s, and we had, some worship leaders come in that were from, California, and all of a sudden, because we had put out a worship album from Britain, that all of a sudden the worship leaders had, an English accent. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, sound like you. And people would be like, oh my gosh, where's he from? I'd be like, California. Like, sing how you're supposed to sing. Lead like how you're supposed to lead. God's anointing on you is on you, not on somebody else that you're trying to become. And 3, don't ever, and I know this is really hard, and some of you are watching this because you're like, well, yeah, they would call me all kinds of stuff. I get it. But don't allow yourself to get to the place where all you believe is that people's intentions are bad. Because if you live from that place, you will treat everybody as suspect, and it will cripple your leadership. And at the end of the day, this is where I land with everything, especially leadership, is I choose to believe that for the most part, people's intentions are actually really good. They may go about it the wrong way. They may say stupid things and all that, but I choose to believe people's intentions are good. And those of you that have been really hurt by what you've been called, and that isn't a gender issue, or by people's judgments against you as a leader, like, at the end of the day, like, you have to live in the place where, believe people love you and are for you. I'm just going to believe. I got to the place in my life where I was like, I'm just going to believe that people love me and that they're for me. And if they're not, I don't want to know about it. And if you can live in that place that for the most part people's intentions are good, it can lift off that suspicion where you have to defend yourself, or where you have to, prove yourself to everybody. I know this is a lot in a short segment, but I hope this is encouraging to you, and I hope that it's challenging to all of us, that we just stop and think before we put labels on people and realize, that some of this damage goes really deep. It's rooted deep. And so in order to shift the culture, we got to go to the root of it. We got to stop doing some of this behavior that we think doesn't affect people. And I'm telling you right now, when we make judgments or we call people things and label them, it's very hurtful. And so knowing that can put us on the right path to maybe doing a bit better. So I hope this was encouraging for you. I realize this is a lot, But I hope it's encouraging for you today, as well as challenging. Bless you.